Renowned as the Middle East's largest solutions provider of integrated facilities is the distinguished Imdaad Group. Imdaad's end goal of enhancing its clients' capabilities is met through turnkey solutions covering a wide range of hard and soft FM services, manpower supply and environmental solutions. Forging the way forward with a highly qualified workforce of over 6,000 multicultural personnel, Imdaad has garnered numerous prestigious accreditations and accolades for labour welfare, as well as quality and reliability of services. This matchless combination of talent and technology makes us a powerhouse of ingenuity and innovation, enabling us to adapt to the changing economic landscape around us. Our range of customized services simplifies the lives of our stakeholders, making us the partner of choice for property managers across the UAE. As we continue to shape and lead the industry, Imdaad takes great pride in counting itself as a powerful contributor to the region's success story. Imdaad Group, leading by example.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the panel on Shaping the Future, Fueling Digital Transformation in Facilities Management. We have a great set of panelists with us today. Let me introduce them. Our first panelist is Alain Waha, Global Head, BIM and Digital Transformation at Burohappold Engineering, UK. And then we have Anastasia Khatib, Associate FM Consultancy, Property and Asset Management Services at JLL. And we also have Benjamin Wessendorf, Head of Business, Isnaad from Imdaad. Welcome again. We will get started with a quick introduction of the panelists. I would like the panelists to introduce yourselves. Can we get started with, say, Alain Waha, please?
Yes, good afternoon, good evening. So Burohappold is well known for making new buildings, and not least the Museum of the Future on Sheikh Zayed Road, for example, or the Abu Dhabi Louvre down the road. And really, I think what we are contributing here is that before you make a new building, you understand how existing one work, and you understand how you improve the performance of those that you already have, and reconfigure those that you already have. And I think that's deeply important to understand.
Thank you, Alain. Anastasia, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me today on this panel. As you've introduced me, my name is Anastasia Khatib, and I work in the capacity of Associate FM Consultant from the Property and Asset Management Department at Jones Lang LaSalle. My background is civil engineering, where I have worked as a site engineer before I decided to move to FM. And a lot of the work that I get involved in at the moment includes development of facility management strategies, design revisions, and procurement, to name a few of my responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's get started with our panel. Digital transformation in facilities management. So it has been happening for quite some time at a steady pace. I would like to get your views on, specifically after the pandemic, how was digital transformation in facilities management looked at? What are the areas of focus that you are seeing from the end customers where they are looking at to spend their time and energy on digital transformation?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic. We live in an interesting time. I think earlier we all were asked, who was responsible for digital transformation in your organization? Was it the CEO, the CIO, or was it COVID-19? And I think we all have seen in the last 6 months an acceleration of change. And that's very exciting. You know, all of us have had to adopt digital thinking, digital technologies. It's become part of the daily life of our children going to school through Zoom, to name but that. Now, what's really, I think, fundamental and that will not revert is that we are reconsidering why we need the space. We are being pushed right now to say, all right, we can reopen with 10% capacity, 20% capacity, 50% capacity. How do we make that work? And the only way to answer those questions is to turn to technology to help. And we're seeing a lot of space modeling happening and a lot of operational modeling. So that's what our scene has accelerated beyond, you know, our personal acceleration into the digital world, is the realization that facilities management is about making space available for a given activity. So is it work, is it schooling, is it teaching, is it circulation space? How do you get people in and out? How do you support tutorials? How do you support interaction in the space that was designed in the past for a very different way of living and working? And I think that is what, you know, this COVID moment is giving us all, is the opportunity to test the ideas that we've had and to put them to work to solve the problems of now. And I think that's very, very exciting. And certainly at Burohappold, we have it's the number of spaces we've modeled, we've captured the activity in the space through the digital twins, and we have then been able to remodel how you operate, how you stagger the classes, how do you stagger the arrival of people in the office, how do you create booking systems for space, how space is becoming even more flexible. And I don't think I'm saying anything very new. I think we've all personally experienced it. And I think that's the moment for the digital transformation.
Great. Anastasia, can you please share your view?
Sure, but probably just kind of before I start answering the question, maybe just allow me to give a kind of brief explanation of what we mean by digital transformation in case that not everyone is on board with us. So digital transformation is the increasing use of technology in managing the built environment to maximize returns in operations, reduce human errors, reduce expenses, and increase returns on investment. Now to go back to the digital transformation and how it's perceived nowadays, I agree that we have came one step forward, and probably that the COVID situation just pushed, kind of accelerated all the digital transformation. However, if I would look at it, I think that I can see three distinctive perspectives in terms of how do you look at the picture. I mean, so basically, if you think about it from a property developer perspective, developers in our market still don't see the monetary value in digitization. And mainly it's because that labor is still cheaper than technology. Also, developers in our region tend to wait and see. And once a trend has proven to work, then it will be implemented. On the other side, if you look at it from the facility management service providers point of view, you would probably see that they have realized the importance of technology nowadays in order to maintain their competitive advantage in the market. And I'm not only talking about CAFM systems, which are now fashionable to call IWMS system or integrated workplace management systems, which is actually a fantastic step forward since service providers now started to incorporate spatial analysis and floor plate analysis to more functionally manage the workplace and areas. However, if you look at it from our perspective as kind of a real estate company, we think that this opportunity might not come again. We're a company that understands real estate and facility management, and at the same time develops technology. So now I think it's the time for us to prove our PropTech leadership in the market, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you. You touched the right points. One on the focus on advanced CAFM from traditional ones, and also on the focus on space management, space utilization for end users. A couple of other areas where I have seen there is increased focus among end customers to digitally transform is the tenant experience part of it, where how do you look at safety of occupants, wellness of occupants. We are seeing that particularly in this region where there is increased focus among the developers to apply technology that can look at safety, wellness. That is one aspect. And from the facilities management service providers and also the developers, a couple of other areas where there is increased digital transformation initiative is to how do we enable mobility for the workforce, for the facilities management workforce, give them mobile apps, give them technology with mobile enablement. Another broader theme is the move towards managing entire portfolio rather than looking at individual properties. That is another area, particularly after the pandemic, that there is a lot of action around that. So having said that, if you want to share any specific projects that you have been involved recently or any specific digital transformation product that you have been involved, you can share, like that will be very useful for the audience to hear about any specific example projects. Anyone want to take this?
Yes, I think we are seeing that in terms of the broader point of digital transformation, which Anastasia was referring to, you know, in real estate and the application of digital thinking to real estate. And we're seeing that specifically customers are starting to look at their business model, and they are looking at how, if I'm a developer, you know, how does it support new ways of doing business? So through the pandemic, you know, we are seeing a lot of digitization of virtual visits, but also virtual simulation. And so what we are seeing is the emergence of that, you know, virtual reality layer, visualization layer of the asset. And then from a FM point of view, it can simply be, you know, I've got a full digital representation of what is working. So I've got the asset twin, which I can navigate, and I can get my teams that are supporting and operating the asset to test, rehearse, report, find the fault, find the intervention, plan the intervention into this virtual environment, whether it's a headset or it's just a 2D screen. You know, it's a gaming environment. That actually brings some, you know, very operational, tangible benefits, which a few months ago sounded like Star Wars. Yes, we could get to it. I think today, because of the self-distancing, you're having to do it first, and it's pushing people to adopt. It's back to that acceleration. But that's not a fundamental change in, I think, the business model. I think we will see further adoption, and so specific move, which we are seeing is servitization. So servitization of the FM activities and servitization of the space. So both on space as a service is something that is being enabled through digital transformation, because you can componentize the space and make it available onto an open market, and then servitization of the actual services provision to the space, so you can get a more distributed workforce coming to deliver the services. And we are seeing people implementing systems into their businesses that are enabling these new business models.
Great, thank you. Anastasia, do you want to share any examples?
Well, I'll add something, but unfortunately, I will not be able to disclose any projects we work on or any clients. But what I want to say in terms of property technology and basically the way forward. So PropTech or property technology sits at the heart of what we do as a company. A couple of years back, we have created a division called JLL Technologies, which brings Silicon Valley expertise and know-how in the way we develop technologies. Also, we have a global presence where different teams of JLL around the globe get to test different technologies and roll them out afterwards to different regions. So recently in the UAE, we have been productizing a prop tech, which we think will probably revolutionize how buildings are managed, not only regionally, but globally. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to say more than that. But I would say that the way forward is just as Alain mentioned it, is the digital twinning. That would allow us to kind of more functionally and efficiently manage our buildings in the future.
Yeah, these are like great insights, and it's also very encouraging to see things like virtual reality or doing work remotely in facility management, which we have been talking for long, being action now, and the sort of pandemic is fast tracking that, and also things like space as a service, digital twins are getting more and more applied across a lot of properties, which is a good sign. In line with that, even my own personal couple of examples is like there is one skyscraper that opened up just last month in Dubai, where right from the design phase, this customer thought through the facilities management aspects. And even though they already had a BMS in place, plus CAFM in place, plus a BIM in place, they launched an RFP and selected central cloud software that will enable them to collect data and then control all these equipment in real time based on data to continuously optimize the performance of the building and also to continuously improve the efficiency of the workforce and the health and wellness of the tenants. That is again a very good sign for the industry, where a new skyscraper, they're already during the design phase, they're thinking through facilities management aspects that is going to come after construction. So as a follow-up to it, now that all these digital transformation initiatives are fast-tracked and it's a good thing to happen for the industry, are you seeing any people, process, org level changes, enhancement, adjustment being made both by the end customers and also by the facility management services community to adapt to the new normal, to keep in line with the new digital tools that are coming into the system?
Yeah, I think that's huge. That's you see it immediately. You seeing that chief digital officer or chief information officer happening all over the place, and it's that they are then tasked to make it work around the organization. I think every organization then decides whether it builds the organization in-house or outsource it and creates a digital unit. And I think that's a huge transformation that we are seeing. If I was to go back to the being specific example, and again, clients are confidential, because I think to the point of Anastasia, technology that was seen as a nice to have is now become a strategic component of performance and strategic advantage. So that because they're now not talking openly about what they're doing with technology. They see it as something is going to allow us to win. But I can certainly talk about a telco provider that has a worldwide footprint. and for the last 2-3 years, we've been working and evaluating with them a number of technologies, census technologies, and creating what we now call a digital twin. It's just a rebadging of an approach. And this is now being surfaced as a workplace optimization and workplace management tool. And you know, what we're seeing is this shift in organization, both for companies like Burohappold, JLL, Anastasia was mentioning JLL Technologies, and for our clients. So in the past, it was something we were doing and researching. Now it's becoming business as usual. So, for example, we've signed a partnership with Microsoft globally. They provide the cloud technology at scale. They've got partner implementation at scale. And Burohappold is turning from a designing new building to operating existing building better. We're also turning into a company that's deeply technology based. I think we have 500,000 line of codes. So we have a code software engineering capability now. And we are about to launch a product. So what we've incubated with our clients is going to be launched as a product that you can buy as a SaaS product promoted through Microsoft's networks of partners, and which we are already deploying on millions of square feet. And you know, when you think about where we were only a few months, years ago, as an organization being service driven, now not only are we technology driven, we're becoming a software engineering capability and a product, a SaaS product company working in partnership, that's happened in a matter of months.
Wow. Okay, that's a interesting trend where companies like you are like moving into tech, software, and bundling that offering. That will be like a very good advantage for the market there, because you have the domain knowledge, you're bringing in the right set of products.
What I think is very important, right, is to remember the killer app is the ability of human to mobilize technology at the service of what they do. Sure. Don't for a minute believe that Amazon was born as a tech company. Amazon was a retailer. It was a retailer that chose to work with tech and to retail in the medium of the internet. It just happened by accident that because it couldn't buy the tech to scale, because retail on the internet became so vast, it had to invent a new tech business, which was the cloud business. In the same way as Azure at Microsoft was an internal response first to be able to scale the services that Microsoft was offering. It creates its cloud business. Well, within Burohappold, what happened was we had so much demand for code that we ended up looking by all accounts as a software company. We started collaborating with companies in California to learn how do you do software engineering, not because we are a software company. We aren't. We just know that the killer app is mobilizing software at the service of what we do. And our clients are just saying, how do you make my office work better? Right? Well, we're going to have to write code to answer that question. Can you give me predictive tools that allow me to understand when next week the office is going to be over busy and I need to make some decisions? Yes, we can do that. We've got the simulation capabilities, we have the software capabilities, we have the digital twinning capabilities to surface to the manager a predictive tool that allows you to say, on Thursday, I need to move these meetings offsite because the capacity is exceeded and we do not have the way to safely operate the space we have. Sure. I think that is very, very transformational at an organizational level.
True. Very, very, very interesting. And that brings the next question for Anastasia, like what will be the future facilities management services company like JLL look like? So what is their roadmap, given that there is huge focus on technology now?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's also an interesting one. And just it kind of flows from what Alain has said. There's a buzzword recently, it's called co-opetition. So companies such as us and Burohappold probably are doing the same, where, as Alain mentioned, we're collaborating with tech firms to just perfect our technology. And we are seeing that companies, tech companies such as Amazon and Google, they are moving towards prop tech. The reason they're moving towards prop tech is that potentially there's more stability and there's huge potential and money to make in the field as compared to IT business and technology in general. So real estate would always be kind of a stable business model. So we think that in the future, our competition face will change and tech companies will be our competition at some point, potentially. But basically, just if I go one step back and reiterate things about facility management service providers need to understand the importance of technology at this stage. We've seen a rise in automation and robotics. So for instance, I'll give you an example. In our Hong Kong office, we have robots kind of in our staff list. What the robots do, they work as security guards. They do security patrol and major incidents, kind of major inspections. And whenever an incident is found, they report back to the duty manager. And the reason for having robotics is it's the future. The goal is not to substitute people, but rather find technology that will help us kind of do our job better. And in the way we have failed to do it is that we're yet not able to identify how do we utilize the resources when we bring in technology. So this is something challenging for us at the moment is how do we reuse those resources? How do we reutilize those resources and make them integrate in the new picture of the technology in FM?
Yeah. Yes, I agree that there is clearly an opportunity for cooperation, collaboration when it comes to tech, because we are still very early in the journey as a market. Then I would like to ask this question specifically for you. In what ways do you think digitization would benefit the end user? Since you come from a FM services sector, we would like to hear from you and what ways the digitization will actually benefit the end user.
Yeah, Prabhu, thank you. That's a great question indeed. So when it comes to digitalization, I understand that it's basically today data as such is the lifeblood of facility management. So we are dealing with a lot of data in our day-to-day operations. But from a customer perspective, I believe that implementing and digitalizing services where we can or use it as the right tool, it helps our customers to save time and money in the first place. So it helps also, of course, to boost efficiencies a lot. It enables us to monitor our services much, much better, and that we can bring those services when and if required to the customer much faster. So that is overall how it definitely benefits our customer. And when I can give an example, for example, at Imdaad, for instance, we are using FFI application. So what does the application do? It basically helps us to schedule our operations much better and faster. So in this way, we can reduce dramatically the response time. So how does it work? It is a geofencing which is happening. So whenever we have a call out of our teams from the customers, the application, the software will detect the closest team to the call out, which is well equipped to attend to it. So that is a huge benefit for the customer as well. So moving into this segment and using the technologies right, gives a big benefit aside from the data collection to the customer. It makes him feel the positive effects of the digital approach. And then, of course, we have other things when we talk about IoT, smart washroom concept. We do have a smart washroom concept where we enable customers to give a direct feedback, a real life feedback to our teams and tell us when is what required. So artificial intelligence brings it even further, but I will talk about this a little bit later. So IoT helps us a lot in terms of guiding our people and using them more efficient in other areas for other scopes as well. So that is another great benefit for our customers. And then there's the ERP system. So as another example, we have recently implemented a new system. So Imdaad is working now with Oracle together, and our entire processes is digitalized. So be it the recruitment, be it finance, be it operations, everything is linked together in one big system. So that, of course, is very future driven, if I might say it in this way. And again, also here, the customer benefits from it, because a lot of processes are shorter now. And of course, we are able to reduce overheads. We are having more control over the different processes. So, and these benefits are going directly to the customer. So I would say that overall, we can see that digitalization represents an essential component of a successful FM company. We have to be ready, all of us, because clients are looking to us and want to see how we are moving in the digital age and pass those benefits on to the customer.
Yeah. Yes, you said it right, where the digitization produces data, and data helps to deliver more real-time, better, faster services to customers. A follow-up question on that. Yeah. So the follow-up question on that is once you have data out of digitization, how we can leverage data to produce more outcomes. So one way is artificial intelligence. How can artificial intelligence impact the facilities management sector? Because now we are producing more data, there are IoT sensors. So data is there. How can AI help us with that data? Can you share your insights on that?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence, I mean, as you said, is already reshaping the world and the facility management market. But let us first probably take a little step back and think, what is actually artificial intelligence? And we always link this, or often it is linked to the response to stimulations, right? We think about droids and robots. So traditionally, it's the responses how a human would respond, right? And in terms of observation, the system needs to be able to observe like a human being, to judge and show his intention. So in the facility management market, yes, it's definitely artificial intelligence, but I would also use the term of machine learning, right? So what happened the most is that data is, it's how to say it? It's calculated, or it's calculated by a machine and then concluded. And that allows us to drive operations much smoother, and it allows us to predict certain scenarios entirely different, right? As I said earlier, so IoT is there with the sensor technology. Now IoT will detect in the first place and save those data, but with artificial intelligence, you can go the next step. You can let the software or the system create even entire cleaning plans based on the predictions. Yeah. So I have also there are a couple of examples. If you look where you find AI basically in the market that is energy monitoring and measurement, for example. So while the software is able to combine and build a correlation between the weather and the energy and occupancy levels, it helps us to predict, for example, how and when to cool buildings, just as one example. So it helps us, and it helps us to save money at the end of the day, because during summertime, it is much cheaper for the customers to start the cooling of the building in the morning hours or in the nighttime. And equipment predictive analysis. So the system is able to understand PPMs and life cycles of certain assets, so it can reduce the risk of unavailability when it's required. So the system can then even order those items, consumables, materials on its own. And in the same way, if you look at space planning, meeting rooms, or in the catering. So if you use IoT sensors, for example, it helps you to understand how many people are in the meeting room, what's the temperature, and you can then convert such data and predict further, and also here align the cleaning schedules accordingly, right? In catering, which is also part of the facilities management, while calculating or sensing the amount of plates which are taken on, it helps the chef in the kitchen itself to predict the next meals, or how much has to be cooked, so you have less waste. So it just makes it all more efficient overall, and it's already happening. And facility needs, as I said, as well, through the sensors, and you can then, for example, go and do the scheduling of your items which you have to procure also for the cleaning, in line with the IoT I talked about earlier. And then safety and security. What we had before, that we stamped with a card, we are now using face recognition. For example, Imdaad is using biometric fingerprint system. And that is, again, data in the first place, but seeing who is actually on site working can also, or who's not coming to work, that can give us a good indication on absenteeism and predict the absenteeism. And I think that's the beauty of artificial intelligence as such. And I believe it has a great future. We have all to focus on it. I mean, who doesn't? Who does not go and is not open for innovation will lose, as an FM provider, the competitive edge at the end of the day.
Thanks, Ben, for sharing your insights on areas of application of AI in facilities management. It is also good to see that companies like Imdaad are already thinking about these initiatives and already implementing them practically. So our final question is around digital transformation and climate emergency. Now that there is a lot of focus and increased adoption in tech, what is your views on our industry, the facility management industry, taking up the climate change sustainability initiatives to the next level?
I think this is a huge question. We should never forget to restate it. First, we are, as an industry, construction and real estate, the largest contributor to CO2 and global warming. So we must fix ourselves. If we don't fix our industry, we are doomed. So I'm sorry to restate the obvious, but I think we have to own it and do it. So I think this is very profound. First, obviously, as Burohappold, we are known for making new buildings. This is wrong. We need to first make the ones we have work better. We are fundamentally focused on this climate emergency, and we are bringing all the power of the engineering mind to make the existing one work better. That must be our primary focus, and that's quite fundamental for a firm that for 40 years has made new buildings. We have to say, whoa, let's make the ones that work now work better. And I think it's really interesting because if you look around, look at Dubai, we've got a lot of space, we've got a lot of buildings, but a lot of things has happened in the last 30 years. And what we designed them for then is not really the situation we are in now. Forget about COVID. And a lot of things has changed. You know, these retail mall, how much of it has gone online? Where is the experiential? What's the culture? What's the society that it was built for 30 years ago? So reconfiguring the existing building must be central to what we do. And certainly we are having a lot of customers coming to us and say, can you move this building? We are moving the Sharjah's flying saucer because it's an iconic building. We don't want to lose it. It's got a lot of embedded carbon based in the wrong place. Let's move it. We're working with our friends at JLL around, you know, they have customers that are saying, you know, I don't need that space, but I've got this building. Right. Well, can you redesign the building? Oh my God, do we tear it down? No. We don't tear it down. We get a really good view of how it can be reconfigured. Can you reconfigure it without closing it down? Yes. Can you safely tear out three floors and repurpose those floors? Yes, we can. And that's the power of technology and the power of that engineering mind that says, we have a building. So we've just delivered the building in central London, for example, where we've increased the floor space by 40%. We've replaced the facade, we made it net zero. And so we've gone from an old building, people say, well, we're not sure we can keep it, to a building that has a greater floor plate, a new facade, and it's net zero. And I think that is what we want to be known for now. And I think that's a very, very exciting moment for technology. And it starts, by the way, Prabhu, about, you know, understanding first, and I think this is the key point about FM, and where the fabric of the building is touched daily basis by the FM operator. They know how the building is working. They know how the building is operating at an intimate level. We need to capture that information. We see that if you manage that information, you can get up to 20% improvement in sustainability performance on the building now. Don't change anything, just operate it better, be focused, mine that data, and then use that to take it forward and reconfigure, don't rebuild, reconfigure.
True. Yeah, you hit the right point where when it comes to sustainability, the increase in tech adoption will bring in continuous like new behaviors, good behaviors among all the stakeholders, right? From FM teams to the owners to the occupants, that will over a period of time help them to get into better handling of the building, better usage, so that there is continuous focus on sustainability. Anastasia, would you like to add something on sustainability?
Yeah, I think I would just reiterate what Alain said, and definitely we are the most contributors to carbon emissions in the world, unfortunately. And I agree with the fact that a human population is increasing. However, the global resources are limited. We cannot remain building in the same rate we do now. We need to make sure that our buildings, whatever we have at the moment, work at full capacity, at full efficiency, and full functionality and comfort. So we have a lot, and especially Dubai is probably could be a very good case study. We have fairly new buildings, well-built buildings, which we can use to transform into kind of the future of the new buildings, and try to minimize our energy consumption. And just to touch a point on sustainability. Sustainability also involves the human factor. And we did see a rise in the importance of a human factor recently after the COVID, or during the COVID situation, which we in JLL call the people way, or the humanization of technology. We've seen an escalation during the pandemic of prioritization of human health and safety. And there's also a rise to the importance of comfort and functionality of buildings. We think that the future competition between property developers will be in who can offer more, which would not always be linked to the bottom line, but rather what services the building will offer and how it enhances human experience and satisfaction. Also, we now more than ever realize the importance of human factors, that play in the control and digitization of buildings. So if I give you an example, during the pandemic, a lot of buildings were deserted, and we had to mothball those buildings or make them run at a minimum level of maintenance requirements. So this requires skill and effort to do, and then to kind of switch on back those buildings also requires effort. So basically, we I think now more than ever realize the importance of future-proofing your facilities in a way that it will be capable of doing so either remotely or automatically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And let's state it, right? That in face of a climate emergency, it's not competition, it's not co-opetition, it's collaboration. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. You have those that come to the green side, and start working together at creating the business plans, implementing the technology, and making the changes that allow us to address it. And to Anastasia's point, we sometimes forget that the building is there to support a human activity. I think, Anastasia, this is the most important thing. And if you think about that, it's very important, because if you want a good night's sleep, then people start selling good night's sleeps rather than square foot, right? If you buy a hotel room and it says, to make more money, it needs to be bigger, we are in trouble. We're in trouble because, as a hotel company, I can only make more money if I burn more of the environment. What Anastasia just said is a good night's sleep means better revenue for the hotel chain. So let's engineer and work collaboratively to deliver a better night's sleep. And maybe that means lower air conditioning because it's noisy and it's breezy. It may mean a smaller room because actually when I'm asleep, the size of the room doesn't really matter a great deal. And so it's really interesting that by really working together at rethinking how we address this climate emergency, we can make a difference.
Yes, very interesting points. Thank you for sharing, and we are coming close to the time for the panel. I would like to thank all the panelists. To summarize, we touched upon the fact that post-pandemic, there is increased adoption of digitization initiatives, and we touched upon areas like space as a service, modern CAFM, occupant tenant comfort, sustainability as the areas where there is a lot of focus. And then there is also talks around how the technology vendors, prop tech vendors, and the FM services, design consultancy firms are all like collaborating together to make sure that there is a shift to technology-driven, efficiency in operations of buildings. So we'll now take some questions from the audience. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prabhu, Ramachandran, and the eminent panelists for a very wonderful discussion on how the digital transformation is going to shape the future of facilities management. Now we are having the Q&A session. So let us start by taking the questions from the audience. This question is, how can we use digital transformation to refine and refresh the existing building stock?
Basically, I'd probably explain how the future building will look like. Future building will definitely have an AI brain or a property technology or an application that would be able to digitize and digitally transform the building into the new phase. And kind of the future of the buildings is fully flexible and auto-adjustable building. As I mentioned, it's an AI-based platform where, for instance, you move into the building will be able to auto-calculate how many people or visitors are in the building. And according to the number of people, it will be able to reshuffle the lifts operation to direct the lifts to the locations where there are more people. Again, the building will understand where its visitors are going and will direct the visitors directly to the floor plan dedicated for this specific person. And that the benefit with that would be to either increase the efficiency of the floor plate, increase the utility of the space, as well as reduce energy consumption. Whereas now we might have floor plates that are half empty or 20% occupied, and that increases your energy consumption. This is one of the problems that we want to tackle and make sure that the building is capable of guiding people towards the right spaces and more efficiently using the space. At the same time, this AI platform will be able to learn and predict patterns of maintenance and failure of equipment. Of course, it will be equipped with IoTs and sensors, and it will be kind of modeled in a way to understand the correct temperatures, vibration, noise control, and etc. of each equipment. And whenever an equipment deviates from its natural parameters, it sends a trigger and let's say a maintenance request. Those maintenance requests, again, they would be raised in a staggered way, depending on the maintenance protocol or the operations protocol of the building. So if there are social distancing aspects, it will stagger what resources will be coming to maintain it and when and how. So that is for the maintenance, as well as to mention in terms of HVAC and heating in a building. So the more we have resources or the more we have people in the building, the more HVAC or chilled water is required in a building. So basically, and this will kind of trigger the building to auto-adjust the temperatures. Nowadays, we have sensors that normally work on the CO2 volume in a space, but there is a lag of at least half an hour to an hour until the HVAC system is able to readjust the temperatures. However, when you automatically know the number of visitors, the system will be able to anticipate the required temperatures immediately for those people, and accordingly it will help and reduce the chilled water bills and increase the energy consumption efficiency.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. If Mr. Alain is back, can we come back to you, Mr. Alain? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The question was about how will Burohappold work with Microsoft and impact the digital transformation, how it will help in the climate emergency of the UAE.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important question. I think the Microsoft and the big three, the big tech, seem to be interested in coming to solve the problem of the built environment, and I think that's the big news, really, that we need to integrate. Until now, the built environment really hasn't been impacted by technology. The technology was, Star Wars or theory. Now, I think is the time where, be it Amazon, be it Microsoft, be it Google, they're joining us in solving the fundamental problem, really, of society, because there isn't a bigger problem. Where we live, where we work, and what we experience, how we keep ourselves safe is probably the number one thing that we really should be considering. And so Microsoft is coming. they've been managing their buildings. They've been trying to understand. They're engineers, right? Instinctively, they're software engineer, and they've been saying, how do we run all buildings better? And I think they're really excited that they're now meeting people like those around this table and engineers like Burohappold saying, look, with this silicon technology, we can do so much better. And Anastasia just enumerated many topics where we can do better. And I think, so this relationship that Burohappold has developed with Microsoft just now, I think is what you will see much more of, is the big tech coming to help us and power up all the imagination that we have to solve the problem. Now, in terms of climate emergency, I think that is that's the problem of tomorrow. I think the problem of today, Anastasia mentioned, is COVID-19. How do we operate our building safely? We are all very excited that there is a vaccine on the way, but I think we will have learned so much. And I think what we've learned is we don't know very much about how our buildings are being used right now. And we have that opportunity to use COVID-19 and say, right, like, what have we learned? What can we get in terms of data from our building to make them work and respond to these things like COVID-19? I think after COVID-19 and now, I think we have a financial emergency. We're going to have an economic crisis. And I think this is where, with this data and the thinking that is collectively around this table, we can make use of data to answer our clients' economic crisis. And the change in use, we had to go down to 10%, 20% occupancy, but we're gonna come back to a world where we say, well, actually the office we thought we needed is not the one we needed. Actually, the hotels we thought we had, well, we're not gonna use them the same way. And I really look forward to welcoming Microsoft to our world and say, right, let's have this conversation about data and answer the economic emergency that we have. And then longer term, right, I think we alluded it in the conversation, in the panel conversation, there isn't a bigger problem than the climate emergency. And if we can make use of the space to better and to still deliver what we're expecting, is a great afternoon with friends. How does the space reconfigure itself? How do we avoid losing these 30 minutes or 40 minutes that Anastasia was mentioning that the building takes to respond? And I think that is what Microsoft and Burohappold are looking to tackle, and others.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. In fact, there was a next question which is partially answered. The question was, how is digital transformation going to help in the climate emergency and staging an economical recovery for the world? So this question is already, I think, answered. We move to the next question now. Will data-driven design allow the industry to adopt circular economy principles for a more efficient and innovative market? Anyone, can I ask?
I didn't want to jump in. Obviously, as Burohappold, we have a strong interest in design. I think you see that there are 2 or 3 key topics there. The first one is material circularity. I think if what we can do is build buildings out of old buildings, or reconfigure existing buildings, or like we do with every other product, embed the data inside the product, so that it can be reused and material can become reusable. Anything we put into a building can be reused in the future. That's embedded, and that's a data solution. I think data-driven design is a slightly different topic. Is how do we integrate what the FM systems are telling us of how the space is working now, so that we get to a Gen 2 and a Gen 3. Ultimately, one of the holy grail of building design is how do we build more into the building of what we've learned in the previous one? And how do we do that when the memory of the building, which was with the people have moved on? So the person that designed the building may have moved on by the time the people that actually get to use it, and they can't have that conversation anymore. And then they've used it, they've learned it. they've learned something, but they are not those that are communicating to the next generation of designer that are, whereas in a car company, you do a generation 1, generation 2, generation 3 in an iPhone. That's a 12-month cycle. How do we put these cycles to work in our industry? And I think that's really that knowledge capture, which is a very exciting moment for our industry again, with the availability of near infinite cloud storage and the ability to capture so much data about what's happening within the building.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. The next question is that in this COVID environment, there are some physical restrictions on the maintenance personnel to move from one building to another. So how can digital transformation help in getting faster response rates for the issues that have been raised in the buildings?
Yeah, I can take that question.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot of time plus resource constraint now. But on top of that, there are a lot of new work that the facilities teams have to do, more mission critical work, right from the work that impact health and wellness. How tech can help here is when you digitize, when you bring in technologies for proper planning, mobile enable your workforce, enable live tracking, and also bring in collaboration with the tenants where you're able to constantly communicate the tenants, share all the procedures, share all the critical information. You also bring in some behavioral changes in the tenants. All of that on top of those things, when you bring in, say, a process automation or workflow automation, this will help the teams to, one, remove some of the work because they are automated, and the teams are well informed, they are mobile enabled, and overall this will help them to streamline the operations and help them to be informed about what is happening, so they are able to plan better and execute better. And also over a period of time they can reduce the number of problems that their tenant are going to face. So this is where, whether it is new building or an existing building, digital transformation can come and make a larger impact.
Wonderful. That was a great response, Mr. Prabhu Ramachandran. And I once again thank you all the panelists and Mr. Prabhu Ramachandran for having a very wonderful session and giving us insights into how the digital transformation is going to shape up the future of facilities management.